Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It is so great to have you here today. I am so excited about today's video. As you can see by the title, we're gonna be talking all about Jennette McCurdy's book, I'm Glad My Mom Died. I read this book this past weekend and it was absolutely incredible, and I just want to talk about it today, and I want to tell you why I think you should read it. Before we get into the video, if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, or you have been watching a few videos and you have enjoyed my content, please feel free to hit that subscribe button or the like button. If you are enjoying this video, I would absolutely love it, and it really helps support my channel. Thank you. So this book is kind of like the talk of the town right now. Just came out last week. Everyone's reading it. Everyone's talking about it. First of all, the title is like very shocking. I'm glad my mom died. That is not a sentence you hear every single day. I've watched a few interviews that she's done about this title, and she very much sticks by it. And you know, it's very attention grabbing, obviously, but it really, you know, propels readers to pick up the book to understand why she titled her book like that. So for those who don't know, you know, a lot about iCarly and kind of that growing up in that era of TV with Nickelodeon and Disney, and when Hannah Montana and That's So Raven and all of those kinds of shows were very prevalent. Let me just explain to you a little bit about Jennette McCurdy. She was a child star on iCarly. She was on that show the entire run of it, and then she had a spin-off show after from her character from iCarly. And then after that, she kind of completely went off the radar. Didn't really have a lot of acting jobs, wasn't really in the, you know, Hollywood scene until now, when she has come out with her book kind of explaining her rise to child stardom, and then, you know, the aftermath after iCarly ended, and kind of her struggles throughout her pretty much entire life, and how despite the fame and the money and the success, outer success, everything is not really what it seems. So before I get into more of the discussion about this book, I want to warn you about trigger warnings. This book very much centers around some very triggering topics, such as eating disorders, emotional, verbal, and sexual abuse from a parent, and also substance abuse. Those are probably the three biggest main trigger warnings in this book, and I would definitely read up more on them if you are very sensitive to those topics. So throughout this book, Jennette really highlights the relationship that she had with her mother. Obviously, this title kind of says it all, and you learn why it is named this title. The book kind of starts off as she starts to become a childhood actress. Her mom was like very much pushing her to become a actress. Like, she felt like that was her version of success, and she really pushed Jennette into this, despite Jennette not really wanting to go along with it. But Jennette really wanted to please her mother, so she continued to do what her mom asked of her. And unfortunately, her mother pushed her into an eating disorder at a very young age. The biggest theme in this book is Jennette's relationship with her mother, and how emotionally and verbally and like sexually abusive it all was. It is very difficult to read at times, mostly because it can be very like shocking what Jennette's mom would say to her. Like I said, there's a trigger warning for eating disorders, and Jennette's mom instilled calorie restriction at a very young age for Jennette to be able to maintain her childhood and continue to take roles of being a child. And since that happened at such a young age, Jennette has really struggled with eating disorders throughout her entire life. One of the reasons why I think you should read this book is because it puts such a highlight on eating disorders and the struggles that people have with them. I feel like I personally have not read a lot of books surrounding the theme of eating disorders, and really discussing the ins and outs and the difficulties and struggles that people go through with it. Obviously, this is something in the Hollywood stardom circle that people struggle with a lot. She really describes, you know, in such a vulnerable way, how difficult this has been for her entire life. I mean, she says she doesn't really go a day without thinking about, you know, how much she's eating or weighing or any of this kind of stuff. I mean, in the prologue, the book starts out with the mom's in the ICU and Jennette saying, "Mom, I weigh 89 pounds. And it's just like shocking that your mom's on her deathbed and this is what she cares and wants to hear, and what Jennette thinks will make her mom happy. It's difficult to read as well. But I also think that the vulnerability that Jennette shows throughout this novel is incredible. I mean, to be able to talk so openly about her struggles, I think that it's going to help a lot of people feel seen and feel heard, and feel that like there's other people out there who can relate to the struggles that someone's going through. I respect her for talking about this. I thought it was so well done. One thing that I really appreciate about her coming forward about her experiences with her mother is that kind of a relationship with your parent is so damaging mentally. And for her to discuss it openly and discuss the struggles she's been through and discuss how, you know, even when she goes to therapy, it's still very, very hard for her. And even her struggles with therapy, like she comes in and out of therapy multiple times throughout the book. You know, everything surrounding Jennette's discussion of mental health, eating disorders, and even substance abuse. She talks extensively about substance abuse that she struggled with in her early 20s. I think she did such a phenomenal job with it. And I really, really appreciate her being so open and honest about the struggles that she's going through. I also think that, you know, celebrity memoirs, I feel like most of the times when I read about celebrity memoirs, it comes from an older life perspective. And Jennette, I think, just turned 30. So she's talking about her entire child and early 20s. I mean, I'm pretty much the same age as her, and I just appreciated how she's talking about this early stage of life where people can really, really struggle and start to have substance abuse issues and have mental health disorders and whatnot. And, you know, all of that really does come to fruition in the late teens and early 20s. And I think she really, really opens up and talks about that a lot. So I thought she did such a good job with that. Another thing this book really centers on is pulling back the curtain of childhood fame. I remember when I was growing up, I came from that era of iCarly, Hannah Montana, Wizards of Waverly Place, like all of that TV in that era was like my favorite shows. And I remember idolizing them so much. And I was just thinking like, oh, what I would give to be them. But reading this book, oh my gosh, you don't realize how difficult childhood actors have it. You know, I feel like we hear about Britney Spears and Miley Cyrus and Demi Lovato, like they all went through very, very difficult struggles with substance abuse and mental health issues and all of that kind of stuff that comes with childhood fame. And Jennette really talks about a lot of that too. Not only does she talk about that eating disorder and like constantly just like comparing your body to everyone else and having that struggle of like body dysmorphia, but then also she's talking about how Nickelodeon and the creator of iCarly were very difficult to work with. They did not respect her. They did not respect her boundaries. And they would push her to do things that she was uncomfortable with. There's some really triggering things that happened at Nickelodeon that she talks about that have really, really stuck with her throughout her entire life and are kind of jarring. And it's really sad to read, thinking that these were the shows that I had idolized and, you know, people of my generation had idolized growing up. I feel like if you enjoyed that kind of era of TV, seriously read this book. I think you're going to look at it in an entirely new light. Honestly, I'm so glad I read this, and I think it's a really, really important read for like people of our generation. But all in all, the intricacies of childhood fame are not really what they seem. You know, she struggled so hard, even just fitting in with her cast members and whatnot. It was really difficult for her because her mom was putting so much pressure on her to stay thin and to be the best that she could be. And it was just this constant pressure that she had on her to be perfect in every single sense of the matter. Obviously, that really can be tough mentally on a child who is having to constantly live up to this expectation that their mom and the studios and, you know, Hollywood has for you. I think overall, this book was so well written. It is very, very accessible. I feel like people can read it and just easily read it. It's not overly complicated. It's not very discombobulated either. The story flows really, really nicely. It is such a great, great read. I would totally recommend this. Also, it's not very long too. So if you're thinking about reading it, I 100% put it on your list. I would also recommend listening to this book on audio. Jennette records her own audio narration of this book, and it takes the whole book to another level. The emotion that she put throughout her narration was stunning. Like, there are parts where she is choking up as she's reading the book, and oh my god, it just like, it made me so emotional to hear her talking about how difficult like certain low points in her life were, and it's, oh my gosh, it was just so amazing. And the audio takes it to another level. It just adds a whole separate thing of emotion to it. And I feel like I probably would buy this book physically, but listen to the audio if you have the chance. It's incredible. I really appreciate just people reading their own memoirs in general. I think it always adds such a great layer to it, but this one was especially fantastic, to be honest with you. Also, Jennette's very funny just in general, so she throws like little bits of humor and stuff in there, and the way like her inflections and stuff like that, I really think it's worth a listen. So at this point, I hope I've really, really convinced you to at least put this book on your radar. I think Jennette did an incredible, incredible job with this book. It was so well written. It is so incredible and so brave of her to tell her story in this way. It is not an easy story to read at all, and it is so heartbreaking too. Oh, the fact that it's true, it's just really, really breaks my heart. I really appreciate her bringing light to difficult parenting situations. Having an emotionally abusive parent really, really takes a toll on you as a human and growing up and your mental health and everything. And she totally discusses all of that and really highlights how difficult it was growing up with a mom who was so controlling, and it was just like this very toxic codependent relationship they had. Her struggles trying to reframe her thoughts in her brain, it was just incredible. And I really, really, really hope you give it a try. This was probably the best book I've read this year. I'm thinking it's for sure gonna be in my top 5 best books I've read this year. And I really think you should pick it up if you think you can handle the trigger warnings. Please, like I said, make sure to look back into that as well. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if I've convinced you to put this book on your TBR, please give me a thumbs up. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!